In the pre-dawn hours of Friday, June 13, 2025, the quiet skies over central Iran were shattered by the roar of jet engines and a series of powerful explosions. This was the beginning of Operation Rising Lion, a meticulously planned and audacious military operation carried out by the Israeli Air Force. The primary target of this long-range strike was not a military base or a command center, but something far more strategic and controversial: the Natanz nuclear facility. This operation marked a significant escalation in the long-simmering shadow war between Israel and Iran, bringing their conflict directly into the open, and honestly, sending shockwaves across the entire globe. The world awoke to the news of a direct military confrontation, one that had been feared for decades but had now become a stark reality. The Natanz facility, located deep in the desert heartland of Isfahan province, is more than just a collection of buildings. It is the centerpiece of Iran's ambitious and highly contentious nuclear program. For years, international observers and intelligence agencies have monitored the site with intense scrutiny. It is here, in vast underground halls protected by layers of concrete and earth, that Iran operates thousands of centrifuges. These sophisticated machines spin uranium gas at supersonic speeds to enrich it. While Iran has consistently maintained that its nuclear program is for peaceful energy purposes, nations like Israel and the United States fear that Natanz could be used to produce weapons-grade uranium, the key component for a nuclear bomb. The strategic importance of Natanz cannot be overstated. For Israel, the prospect of a nuclear-armed Iran represents an existential threat, a danger it has vowed to prevent at all costs. Israeli leaders have long believed that a diplomatic solution was insufficient to halt Iran's progress, viewing the program's advancement as a ticking clock. The decision to launch Operation Rising Lion was therefore a calculated gamble, a high-stakes move intended to physically set back Iran's nuclear capabilities and send an unambiguous message. The strike was designed not just to destroy equipment, but to disrupt the very core of Iran's scientific and technical momentum, hoping to delay their nuclear ambitions for years to come. The attack itself was a demonstration of advanced military capability. Israeli fighter jets, likely supported by aerial refueling tankers and electronic warfare aircraft, would have had to travel over 1,000 miles across hostile airspace to reach their target. The operation required precise intelligence, sophisticated stealth technology to evade Iranian air defenses, and powerful munitions capable of penetrating the hardened subterranean structures of the Natanz facility. The success of such a complex and risky mission underscores the gravity with which Israel views the Iranian nuclear threat. It was a bold, unilateral action that has now thrown the Middle East into a new and highly unpredictable phase of conflict. As news of the airstrikes broke, all eyes turned to Washington for a reaction. The United States, Israel's closest and most powerful ally, was immediately thrust into the center of the diplomatic firestorm. In a swift and unequivocal statement, U.S. President Donald Trump took to his Truth Social platform to distance his administration from the attack. The U.S. had nothing to do with the attack on Iran tonight, he posted, making it clear that this was not a joint operation. This quick denial was a crucial first step in a delicate balancing act, supporting a key ally while simultaneously trying to prevent the United States from being dragged into a direct war with Iran. The statement was designed to de-escalate American involvement before it could even be questioned. However, President Trump's message was twofold. While he denied any American role in the Israeli strike, he also issued a formidable warning directly to Tehran. He made it clear that any form of retaliation against the United States would be met with overwhelming force. If we are attacked in any way, shape or form by Iran, Trump declared, the full strength and might of the U.S. armed forces will come down on you at levels never seen before. This stark threat served as a powerful deterrent, creating a protective shield around American assets and personnel in the region, and signaling to Iran that the consequences of widening the conflict would be catastrophic for them. In a surprising turn, the president also dangled an olive branch, suggesting a path away from further conflict. Displaying his characteristic confidence in his deal-making abilities, Trump suggested he could broker a peace agreement between Iran and Israel. This offer introduced an element of unpredictability into the crisis. It presented an off-ramp from the cycle of violence, proposing that even in this moment of extreme tension, a diplomatic solution was possible under his leadership. This blend of a fierce warning with an offer of negotiation is a hallmark of his foreign policy approach, leaving both allies and adversaries to ponder his next move and the potential for a grand bargain. The official American position was further solidified by Secretary of State Marco Rubio. Echoing the president's statements, Rubio publicly affirmed that the United States had no part in planning or executing the Israeli attacks on the Natanz facility. This coordinated messaging from the highest levels of the U.S. government aimed to create a clear and consistent narrative. The goal was to isolate the Israeli-Iranian conflict, containing it as a regional dispute, rather than allowing it to spiral into a global confrontation involving American forces. By repeatedly stressing non-involvement, Washington hoped to maintain its strategic flexibility while navigating the treacherous diplomatic waters stirred up by Operation Rising Lion. Iran's response to the attack was one of immediate and furious condemnation. The government in Tehran did not accept the American denials of involvement at face value. Instead, Iranian officials swiftly pointed the finger not just at Israel, but also at its powerful ally. Iran's foreign minister, Abbas Araghchi, made a dramatic announcement to a gathering of foreign diplomats and on state-controlled television. He boldly claimed that Iran possessed solid proof that the Israeli operation was not conducted alone. Araghchi alleged that the strikes were actively supported by United States forces and facilitated by American military bases located throughout the region, a direct contradiction of the White House's official stance. This accusation transformed the narrative from a bilateral conflict with Israel into a wider conspiracy involving the United States. By making such a serious claim, Iran sought to paint itself as the victim of a coordinated aggression led by a global superpower. The Iranian government's strategy was to rally domestic support by stoking anti-American sentiment and to persuade the international community that the attack was not a limited strike but a grave violation of its sovereignty backed by Washington. This claim of having solid proof, whether credible or not, was a powerful tool to shape global opinion and justify a more forceful response against perceived American interests in the future. Following these accusations, Iran issued a stern warning that it would not let the attack go unanswered. An unnamed senior Iranian official, speaking to international news outlets, declared that Iran reserves its inherent right to self-defense under international law. The official stated that Iran would respond decisively to the Israeli aggression at a time and place of its choosing. This invocation of international law was a strategic move to lend legitimacy to its planned retaliation, framing it as a legally justified act of defense rather than an unprovoked escalation. The warning was deliberately vague, creating an atmosphere of suspense and anxiety as the world waited to see what form Iran's promised retribution would take. Furthermore, Iran expanded its threat beyond Israel. The official delivered a chilling message to any country in the region hosting American forces. He warned that any nation found to be defending Israel or assisting in any action against Iran would see its own territory become a legitimate target. Their regional bases and positions will become new targets, the official stated, directly threatening the stability of neighboring countries like Iraq, Qatar, and the UAE, where the U.S. has a significant military presence. This threat was a clear attempt to pressure American allies, forcing them to reconsider their security arrangements and potentially creating divisions within the anti-Iran coalition. The aftermath of Operation Rising Lion has plunged the Middle East into a state of heightened alert. The direct Israeli strike and Iran's subsequent threats of retaliation have placed the entire region on a knife's edge. Diplomatic channels are now working overtime as world leaders scramble to prevent a full-blown war. The United Nations has called for maximum restraint from all parties, but the rhetoric remains heated. The central tension now lies between Iran's vow to exercise its right to respond, and Israel's determination to prevent any attack on its soil, backed by the formidable, if indirect, power of the United States. The coming days will be critical in determining whether this crisis can be contained. The situation is incredibly volatile because any move by one side could trigger a rapid and devastating chain reaction. If Iran chooses to retaliate directly against Israel, it could lead to an all-out war between the two technologically advanced militaries. If Iran targets U.S. bases or allies as it has threatened, it risks provoking the massive American military response that President Trump explicitly warned of. On the other hand, if Iran does not respond, it could be perceived as weak by its own people and its proxy forces across the region, potentially undermining its authority. This leaves Tehran with a difficult and dangerous calculation to make. The international community remains deeply divided. While Western nations may quietly sympathize with Israel's security concerns, the unilateral military action has been publicly criticized by many for its potential to destabilize the region. Russia and China, who have closer ties with Iran, have condemned the Israeli strike as a flagrant violation of international norms and sovereignty. This geopolitical split complicates any unified effort to de-escalate the crisis, as global powers may use the situation to advance their own strategic interests. The lack of a united international front means that the primary actors, Israel and Iran, are left to navigate this dangerous standoff largely on their own. As of today, June 15, 2025, the world holds its breath. The immediate future hinges on Iran's next move. Will it risk a wider conflict by retaliating forcefully, or will it choose a more measured, asymmetric response through its regional proxies? Will President Trump's offer of a grand deal be seen as a viable off-ramp, or will it be dismissed as political theater? Operation Rising Lion has fundamentally altered the strategic landscape of the Middle East. It has demonstrated Israel's willingness to take extreme measures to protect its security and has pushed Iran into a corner where it feels compelled to respond. The path to peace appears narrow and fraught with peril, while the road to war is wide open,